Tuesday, the 25th of June, 2024, is the race meeting that will take place at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth, obviously down in the Cape, and there are 8 races that await us punters and racing enthusiasts, 8 competitive races, but Graham Hawkins and I are here to help you through and to give you some advice. But before we talk about the first race, Graham, how are you? And lovely to be working with you again.
Yes, all well, thank you. First race off at 12:50. By the time that this race gets underway, we will all know what the final field of the Hollywoodbets Durban July looks like. But as everybody knows, we record this show more than 24 hours ahead of the meeting. At this stage, we've only got the one scratching, but obviously that might change as we get closer to race time. And the good news, Warren, is that no further rain is expected. Clearly, we'll still be on a very soft track, but no rain forecast leading into the race meeting.
Okay, let's get to the jugular here. The first race is a juvenile plate over 1,100 metres. You've heard from Graham, 12:50 is the off time at the time of recording. All 7 runners will face the starter. Graham, I was hugely impressed with Air Raid's debut performance when he won, beating We Have a Touchdown. He ran on powerfully and he was an expensive yearling. He was a magnificent colt at the sales. And I think there's obviously a lot more to come. He could be something special.
He could be something special, and clearly he's one of the leading lights in this quality. I have to say it's a small field, but it's a quality juvenile plate. Obviously, we'll get to see whether We Have Touchdown franks that form a little later on. We Have Touchdown runs in the third race on this very card. Air Raid does step back from 1,200 metres, his debut winning distance, to 1,100 metres. But he's got a classy pedigree, and he himself may be all class. The world awaits for Air Raid, and he could be equal to the task here. But I'm quite strongly in the camp of number 3, Worldcraft. Good debut behind Symphony in White. When running 4th, Symphony in White, as we know, is very smart. Second in that race was Kinda Wonderful, who's come out since to win the Iridescent Stakes. And of course, last time in its second start, Worldcraft beat Rockapina, who trotted up by 4 or 5 lengths without coming off the bit next time. So I think Worldcraft might well be the one they all have to beat. Babalicious brings good form into the race in the sense that she's run behind Sahara Cat, Miss World, beat Dixieland Band, who ran second in the Langerman, but she steps back from 1,400 to 1,100 metres, which is possibly not in her favour. Worldly and Furious Queen, obvious chances, as does African Prince. It's a competitive, high-quality juvenile plate. It's the first leg of the bipod. I would suggest it's not my chosen bet for this meeting, but I would suggest including both numbers 3, Worldcraft, and 7, Air Raid, but my first choice is definitely number 3, Worldcraft.
Well, you all know that Graham's a bipod man. Place Accumulator is his suggested bet today. I'm an exactor man, so I like 7, Air Raid. Graham's in the camp of 3, Worldcraft. We are mindful that there are others that have got chances. It's a juvenile race. They're 2, all soon to be 3, and some exciting youngsters are in this field. But 3 and 7 for us in the first race. Let's move along to race 2 on the program, which is a maiden plate over 1,000 metres, and this sets off where we'll see Graham's suggested bet a little later, the Place Accumulator, and it runs at 1:25. And at the time of recording, no scratchings, no jockey changes, nothing like that, and we urge you please to check all that before taking your final bets. Now, it's a difficult race in the sense that I've obviously had a look at your suggested bet. In some areas we're the same, in some areas we're different. Maneki Nako, for me, looks to be an absolute certainty, if there ever is such a thing. I am a little worried, though, that he just keeps finding one to beat him. That's my only concern. But he's not going to find an easier opportunity, Graham.
No, he's not, on the assumption that the 4 newcomers are not really fancied to score on debut, and the comments suggest they're not. So Maneki Nako does look the right horse. I'm not sure that I'd be rushing to grab the 11 to 10. He's finished runner-up in 3 of his last 4 starts. His maiden win is obviously imminent, and I've comfortably bankered him in the first leg of the Place Accumulator. But it's interesting that Richard Fourie has taken the ride on number 2, Walk With Me, and not on any of the Snaith runners. So they're obviously expecting improvement from number 2, Walk With Me. Reverts back to the 1,000 metres where he ran 4th on debut behind African Prince. So Walk With Me, the 2-year-old, could have much more scope for improvement. I think with Maneki Neko, what you see is what you get. There's no more improvement to come. He's rated 74. He's knocking very loudly at the door, and he has every chance of winning this rather modest maiden plate. Approach shot and across the bow, nothing to choose between them on the evidence of the US of A run, but approach shot may just reverse that order this time round. And obviously of the first timers, number 7, Phil the Fluter, beautifully bred son of Versing Gedricks. JP van der Merwe rides for Justin Snaith. I would have thought that if this was really fancied on debut, and the comments suggest otherwise, then Richard Fourie would have been aboard that, because although JP van der Merwe rides a lot for Snaith, it's mainly in the Greg Bort's ownerships, and Phil the Fluter is not owned by Greg Bort. So, Maneki Neko, the one to beat. Walk With Me, probably the liveliest danger.
Yep, I agree. Maneki Neko, the one to beat, but I agree with Graham. I wouldn't be taking 11 to 10 or even money, but place accumulator banker, surely, as Graham says, comfortably. Approach shot and across the bow, you've alluded to, they're meeting each other on the same weight terms, so that's good, 9 and 10. But we're all in here with Candace Bass Robinson's horse, Maneki Neko. Let's move along then and talk about race 3, which is another maiden plate, this time over 1,200 metres, and it sets off the first leg of the pick 6. Lovely pool at Hollywoodbets Scottsville over the weekend of over R1 million, so that was encouraging. And this race, the third race, goes off at the top of the hour, 2 o'clock. For me, Graham, it's... wasn't there, before we go any further, the number 11's called Please Be True. Wasn't there a very good horse, Johnny Dawson, trained once upon a time?
It was also called Please Be True.
Okay, there we go. That's a bit of memory, going down memory lane. But let's go back and talk about the two horses that I think will fight it out. 5, Circumbendius, and 7, We Have Touchdown. Patricia Devine is having a wonderful time. She's breeding winner after winner, and she's owning a few 2 winners, which is fantastic. So that's a breeder that's in form. But I believe that it's never as easy as just a 2-horse race, but I believe the 2 of them are going to fight it out. I have healthy respect for number 9, Green Ochre, who improved quite well last time.
Yeah, I've gone with number 7, We Have Touchdown, as a second place accumulator banker. There was a very good run behind Air Raid. Of course, by this time we'll have seen how Air Raid has performed in the first race. Richard Fourie, first time aboard number 7, We Have Touchdown for the Justin Snaith team, and clearly a worthy favourite, and will be hard-pressed not to win here. But you've pointed out number 5, Circumbendibus. And he was ahead of Green Ochre in that race. Green Ochre has had the benefit of a subsequent run, which might mean that Green Ochre turns up at the races a little sharper than number 5, Circumbendibus, who's only having his second start. Interestingly, out of that same race came number 8, Red Dawn, which is at any price. Was 6 behind 8 on 18. Circumbendibus was 4th, and Green Ochre was in that race 7. So they were grouped fairly close together. So Red Dawn is one just to make a note of that can improve to finish in the back end of quartets. Obvious chances for Cliff Swallow, who's proving quite frustrating and costly to follow. Number 4, Igugulet, who's also had many chances. He's had 3 seconds from his 9 starts, but 10th time of asking. So again, what you see with Igugulet is what you get. Does have a chance of finishing in the money. That is clear for all to see. But I make We Have Touchdown the one they all have to beat. But like you, I'm expecting a lot of improvement from number 5, Circumbendibus.
Okay, that is the third race of the program. Let's move along and talk about race 4, which is a open maiden. They're going to go around the turn this time, 1,600 metres, 25 to 3, 14:35 is the off time. It's competitive, Graham. It is competitive, and I see that you've loaded up in the place accumulator, quite rightly so. But I would like your opinion on a horse that you haven't included in your place accumulator, whom I think is an improver. I certainly don't think that it's a good thing by any stretch of the imagination. It's not that kind of race. But number 5 from the Lucinda Woodruff stable with Grant van Niekerk in the saddle, Grippen or Gripen. Grippen, is it? Grippen?
I would think Grippen.
Grippen, the Visionaire colt out of a Blackman Lelouch mare, improving with each and every run. I know that Noonday Gun form line's not firing. I think there have been a winner or two. It's not an excellent form line, but there's been a winner nonetheless. I just think that the stable of Lucinda Woodruff is so in form that he could be the value.
He's currently 7-1 in the market. Definite chance. Yeah, I nearly threw him in as well because certainly from a pick six point of view and a jackpot point of view, you've got to throw in number 5, Grip. And Grant van Niekerk and Lucinda Woodruff are teamed up nicely. Lucinda, again, a couple of winners at the last meeting. So as you've mentioned, her stable is in good form. And although I haven't included him in the place accumulator because I thought, well, I'm going with 5 runners, do I need to go with 6? But certainly from a pick six point of view and a jackpot point of view, you cannot leave out number 5, Grip, and he will be very much alive in what is a maiden handicap, an open maiden. It's one of these races, many with chances. Number 4, Apache Chief. He's having his 11th bite at the cherry. He was 3rd last time to Tsunami Warning. He'll get it right one of these days. Justin Snaith comes with a 2-pronged attack. Greenland and Groove Jet, either of which could win. Richard Free is on Greenland, who was an expensive failure last time out. He was heavily supported from 7-2 into 11-10. And I played to beat him, got away with it then. He could only finish 4th behind Azuri, which interestingly I think is trained by Lucinda as well. Groove Jet, threatening, only had the 4 starts, might still have scope for improvement. He's certainly running well below what was expected of him from a pedigree point of view. But then, you know, these open maiden conditions do favour the fillies. Number 8, we have a situation, and number 10, Sansa Stark, are the best weighted in this race. And with just 52.5 on the back, we have a situation, could easily win a race of this sort. Sansa Stark has done enough to suggest that she'll be competitive. And even number 11, Black Cherry, I don't think you can leave this out of the pick six and the jackpot either. So this is a very trappy contest. Had a long layoff. Had runs on the 10th of July 2022 and the 27th of July 2022. That was an awful long time ago. So nearly 2 years off the track. Now, for them to have persevered for those 2 years, this 4-year-old son of Rafif must be showing something. Might need another run. Wasn't a bad comeback run when 4th behind Tambourine Man. Has got the worst of the draw to overcome. But if you're going to go wide, then make sure you also throw in number 11, Black Cherry, because he might just be inherently better than any of these that he meets here. But you're right, 5, Grippin has got a big chance. I think it's very difficult, very wide, and you've got to include most of them into your pick six and jackpot play.
Yeah, 11 Black Cherry out of the mare for Scythia, which was quite a nice horse too. But a tough race, ladies and gentlemen. You've heard it from Graham and I. Load up, include as much as your budget will allow, because it's that kind of race. I'm encouraged to hear. Graham's quite right. He's already got 5 horses in the place accumulator. You can't, you know, how many do you want to put in? So he's hoping to treble up. But for pick six purposes, most certainly Grippin, whom I believe is the value in the race. But it's very competitive, as you've just heard from Graham. The 5th race is the Cape Sea Stakes over 1,600 metres. And it'll run at 3:10. And for me, it's, you know, earlier on we went light. We know 2 horses, etc. As it's progressing, it's getting a bit more competitive. I thought it could be a field race for the pick six. Maybe I'm wrong, or at least load up. But horses like 3, My Bestie, who's come down in the ratings from a 90 to a 73, ran a very good 3rd to Kelp Forest, ran on from a near impossible position last time. This 9 Noshon for Vaughan Marshall, never too far off them, and certainly would have a chance on best form shown. Prime Venture has run close up to Baton Rouge, who's turning out to be a very nice horse. This horse, Baton Rouge, from the stable of Piet Botha. Those are just 3, Graham, that I've mentioned, but I believe you could mention a lot more.
Well, it's a very competitive Cape Sea Stakes over 1,600 metres. My top choice would be number 3, My Bestie. I think he has tumbled down the ratings. I think he's showing the signs of coming back to form. It's been 760 days since he last won a race. But the Glen Cotton stable is once again hitting its straps, both in KwaZulu-Natal and the Western Cape. And Robert Carty rode another winner over the weekend for them at a big price. And I think My Bestie probably does set the standard. But you've mentioned others. Number 2, Fair Advantage, number 9, Norshan, and number 10, Prime Venture are the ones that jump out the page at you as cover for number 3, My Bestie. But don't ignore number 6, King Pallies. He's been racing in much higher average merit rated races. Plunges down to a race where the average merit rating is 69. He has his 3rd run as a gelding. If you go back where he last raced in an event where the average merit rating was 69. Obviously, that was in a maiden, and he beat I Surrender. Now, the form does not suggest that he's has obvious claims. He's got 61.5 on his back. Grant van Niekerk, though, is a significant jockey booking for the Gareth van Zyl stable. So, number 6, Kem Pallies, certainly can get into the mix. He raced in the Politician Stakes. He's raced against better horses, and he might appreciate plunging in class here. But my top choice would certainly be number 3, My Bestie. I've included numbers 2, Fair Advantage, and 10, Prime Venture, as backup in my place accumulator.
3, 2, 10, Graham's numbers. 3, 9, 10, my numbers. And we've given you a few horses to, respect and throw into your permutations as well. King Pelez being one of them. Let's move along then to race 6, which is a middle stakes for fillies and mares over 1,400 metres at the odd time of 15:43 to obviously fit into the international races, etc. And Graham, the 6th race, a horse that's keeping me interested is number 5, Sidley, and I'll explain why. She's a horse that went to Fairview, whom I thought would win, but I'm not going to be too hard on her. She was beaten ahead by the very talented Luna Halo. She's come back to her hometown, and I thought she would have done a little better in those 2 starts, but she hasn't been disgraced. It has been 32 weeks since her last win, so it's not too long. She's a nice filly, I think, and at around 5-1 at the time of recording, she's keeping me interested.
It's a good race, this middle stakes for fillies and mares over 1,400 metres. I'll come back to Sidley in a moment. It sees the Sweet Chestnut Stakes winner number 6, Princess Izzy, at the top of the boards, and not surprisingly so, because, as I say, she loves this course and distance, and she won the Sweet Chestnut Stakes, beating Enemy Territory. They meet again at the same terms. Enemy Territory was a length and a half behind Princess Izzy. Of course, what has changed since the running of the Sweet Chestnut Stakes is the track condition. It was good then, it was fast then, now it's soft and slow. And but it doesn't help Enemy Territory's cause that she's drawn worst of all. Sidley was in that same race, ran 5th, beaten 3.5 lengths by Princess Izzy, but has a 3-kilogram pull, whereas Enemy Territory and Princess Izzy meet again on the same terms. Sidley has a 3-kilogram pull. Nothing much to choose between School Policy and Fun Zone. I've been guilty of underestimating School Policy. She caught me by surprise when winning last time. I was in the camp of Fun Zone, and Fun Zone just found her too good on the day. But both of them are very much alive. They're ideally course and distance suited, as with Sidley as well. So Wagoog, I think, steps up a division after running 3rd under a half a length behind Call Me Jetrix. But of course, Richard Fourie, you can't ignore that man, and Wagoog gets 6 kilograms from Princess Izzy. I still make number 6, Princess Izzy, my top choice, but all those that we've mentioned are very much alive. I've gone with numbers 3, 6, and 10 in my place accumulator, but yes, Sidley, very much alive. Wagoog could surprise. If Enemy Territory was better drawn, I'd have been stronger about her chances. But Princess Izzy's done absolutely nothing wrong. She doesn't know what it is to run a bad race. On the assumption that she'll handle the softer conditions as well as she's handled the good tracks, then I do think that Princess Izzy is the one to beat.
Yeah, that run in the listed race last time was impressive, was encouraging. Princess Izzy, beautiful filly by Master of My Fate. And going back to School Policy, yep, she has won 3 out of her last 4, as you've alluded to, but her last 2 wins were at odds of 40-1 and 20-1, so huge odds. And we're going to certainly respect her again this time. That's the 6th race, the middle stakes. Let's move on to the 7th race, which is the Cape B Stakes. It's over 1,400 metres, and the race will run at 16:22. And you heard Graham mention earlier on at the top of the show that there was only 1 scratching at the time of recording, and that is in this race. Number 10, Kitchikill, will take no part, so it leaves a field of 11 runners. This horse Aspect, he's just been a revelation. He's winning and winning well. He beat Cheeky Laddie last time. He got 4 points, which I think is okay. For that last win, he's rated an 86. I think he's still fairly competitively rated. Maybe I'm wrong. He shows pace. He knows Richard Fourie well. Vaughan Marshall has his 4 horses in mustard form. I think he can win again.
He can certainly complete the fifer. So this is a race where you've got to make up your mind as to whether you're in his camp or you're looking to beat him. So I was looking to beat him last time. Didn't get away with that because he held off Cheeky Laddie in the closing stages. So I've got to be consistent with myself. He's won again, so I'm going to try and beat him again. And as you'll have seen from my place accumulator, I've gone pretty wide. I think Vaughan Marshall holds a strong hand with both numbers 3 Aspect and 4 Fibonacci. Fibonacci is not always consistent, but he was under a length behind Aspect last time out. They're both nicely drawn. Fibonacci gets 1.5 kilos from Aspect. Again, I make the same comment with Aspect. His last 4 wins have been on a firm and fast track. He goes on a soft track this time. I think the inside track, the winter course will suit him admirably. I think the shorter run-in will be in his favour, but we'll have to wait and see how he handles the softer track, and that is a big change from his last 4 wins. He might float over the ground and get home to complete his fifer. Kariaku has a chance. Oliver, again, not too much to choose between Aspect and Oliver. In its penultimate start, Aspect beat Oliver by under 1/2 length, but he doesn't win by far, Aspect. He always just keeps rolling and does enough. Also, I think could surprise is number 7, Future Turn. I think that one definitely comes in with a bit of a chance. I think better than its penultimate run when beaten nearly 6 lengths by Aspect, and one that I think is going to absolutely relish the going. If you look at his wet record, 8 starts, 2 wins, a second, 3 thirds, and 2 fourths. And you add all of that up, Future Turn has yet to miss the frame in 8 starts on a soft track. So he's going to be a contender here, number 7, Future Turn. I think number 8, Gourmet Jetrix, takes on stronger, but there's nothing wrong with her form. So, Aspect, clearly the one to beat. He's been a revelation. He's won all 4 starts since January, and he could go in again, but I'm playing to beat him, Warren.
That's fair enough, because it's, I've only mentioned one horse, Aspect. You've alluded to a few others. You look at a horse like War Chariot, number 11. He just needs to overcome that awkward draw. He has been below par in his last 2, but he would have a quartet chance if overcoming the draw. So I would also respect him for the minor money. There are others, as you've alluded to. I'm glad you touched on Oliver, because I'm certainly going to ignore his last run. Grant van Niekerk and Adam Marcus, they have a 29% win strike rate together and a 57% play strike rate. That's quite impressive. So they're a formidable team. But Graham's looking to beat Aspect, and he has every right to. He's loaded up, and he looks to structure it. I think Aspect will reel off the 5-timer. Never easy. But in my other perms, pick sixes, etc., I am loading up, because if Aspect had to win, I wouldn't be shocked. If he were to get beat, I wouldn't be shocked. But he's not a confident selection. But load up as Graham has, because it's a trappy, competitive race again. The 8th race, which is the final race on the program, I know we're not going to be much arguing here, because we're both in the same camp of our first choice. It's the Hollywoodbets Bright Future Class 5 event over 1,100 metres, and the race will run at 16:55. From me, short, sweet and to the point, although there are a couple that have got quartet exacta chances, Gravity, Mr. Frosty, Lover's Lane, Wiley Jack are all ones that you can respect. The horse that I gave as the value last time, which you didn't even know was running, you were quite right. I've done my dash with him. He was a one-hit wonder for me. He didn't show me what I thought he might have, which is Question of Fate, so we'll put him one side. But the first choice, for me, I think it's going to be a hard horse to beat, number 3, Shifting Path.
He has to be the one. It's a strategy to bankruptcy, to nail your colours to the mast in any Class 5 handicap. And this one is possibly no exception. But when you look at the race, and given his current form, Louis Mkotwa for Piet Buerta, I think, makes a habit of winning the last race at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth. He's won many last races. I know it's just coincidental, but his strike rate in the last race of any card at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth is quite amazing. And Shifting Path, the signs point to a victory for him. He didn't seem to get into the race last time until it was all over. In fact, at the 400-metre mark, I thought he was not even going to find a place, because he was under pressure and not really reacting. He does go an extra 100 metres here, but I think that's of little significance. I think Shifting Path, clearly the one to beat. He closes out my suggested place accumulator as a banker because I've tried to go wider in some of those middle legs. Tambourine Man for me is the obvious danger. I know it took a long time to win a maiden, but he's very game consistent, and I think of a merit rating of 65. He's quite competitively rated, so he has every chance of being in the money again. And then number 5, Wiley Jack, is a kind of horse that can come along and blow us all away, so I wouldn't completely ignore the chances of number 5, Wiley Jack. But like you, very confidently in the camp of number 3, Shifting Path.
That is the 8th and final race, and the next discussion from Graham will be the suggested bet, which you've heard by now and you know by now is a place accumulator. I look forward to taking Graham's place accumulator, and I urge the punters to as well, percentage-wise. He'll give you all that information, but that's the last time you're going to hear from me, because I'm going to hand over to Graham to give us his PA, jot those numbers down, and let's hope we have a successful afternoon's racing at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth, Tuesday the 25th. So that's the last you'll hear from me. Graham, over to you for the suggested bet, and as always, a pleasure.
Thank you, Warren. Yes, a place accumulator this time round, opening with banker number 3, Maneki Neko, in the first leg, which is race 2, and the place accumulator will close at 13.25. Also bankering the second leg, number 7, We Have Touchdown, to build further on that good improvement shown in his second start. Then I'm going wide in the open maiden, the third leg, going with all of numbers 4, Apache Chief, 6, Greenland, 7, Groove Jet, 8, We Have a Situation, and 10, Sansa Stark. Then in the following leg, leg 4, numbers 2, 3, and 10, that's Fair Advantage, My Bestie, and Prime Venture. Then 3, 6, and 10, Fun Zone, Princess Izzy, and Enemy Territory. Then we come to the penultimate leg, and this is where Aspect is looking for 5 in a row. I'm looking to beat him. I did so unsuccessfully last time, so we'll stay with the same strategy, even though it may not pay off. But I'm going to leave my scratching in case Aspect wins and we double up, or certainly runs a place and we double up, because I did this before I was aware of the scratching of number 10, Kitchakel. So we're going with numbers 3, Aspect, 4, Fibonacci, 6, Oliver, 7, Future Turn, and 10, Kitchakel. And so we'll double up with the tote favourite if that runs a place. And as we heard earlier, happy to bank a number 3, Shifting Path, in the final leg. So thanks for joining us. Hope you have a great day's racing at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth.